And welcome back to another episode of The Jake Williams Show. I am your host, as always, Jake Williams. And if you've been actually following the show and paying attention to the show, thank you. It's hard for me to believe because a lot of people probably have dropped off because it seems like I only update the show every 10 days now. Seems like, well, maybe even 11 by the time this goes up. But don't worry, it's going to change. It's not going to be that sporadic. I'm actually going to be pre-recording a few episodes and putting them up later because the next few weeks it's going to be a very, very busy time for me. So I'm not going to be able to record like I usually do, where I pick a day and I sit down and get ready to record. That's not going to be the case in a few weeks because the Iowa State Fair is coming around, and because of that, I'm going to be very busy. It's very exciting, though. I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. I'm actually very excited for the opportunities I'm going to be having, and I can't wait to share those with you in due time. I can't stress that enough, that any of this stuff will not come to light for a few weeks. So you have to just bear with me and be patient, and I promise you, you will be blown away by all the fun stuff that I'll be putting out. Some of it might end up on this show, some of it might not. We'll see where we go from there. And I actually did want to get this episode out early. I want to get it out before the weekend happened, but then, of course, that just didn't work out. I had multiple things happen to me over this weekend, extremely busy, and I'm going to share it all with you. That's really all it's going to be. It's going to be just my weekend, and in the weird, wild few days that I've had that have got me to this point. And some of it might come off as complaining. Some of it's going to definitely come off as first world problems. But the most of it actually is very fun. And I'm excited to share that with you. Everything coming up with the Jake Williams Show and all the things that it may bring to you, hopefully, joy. So anyway, without further ado, let's just get into today's show. And I'm usually not this self-indulgent. And just a heads up, take a drink for as many times as I say that, self-indulgent, for this episode. But this is not at all what I was expecting to do. There was one topic that I was going to talk about and just spend most of the time doing that. And I'm going to spend majority of the time talking about that. And that'll be the first thing I talk about. But some other things happened to me that I thought would be funny to share. And just a fun story. And as I said before, wow, that was a weird sentence that came out of my mouth. As I've said before, this isn't just a podcast for me to have podcast. This is almost like it is just me talking to myself, really, but it's also me having like a therapy session with you every week, or I guess every 10 days whenever I put these things up. But I want to share with you my story. So first and foremost, the original idea for this episode was going to be about this one particular topic. And this one particular topic has been on everybody's mind over the weekend. And certainly mine, it's a very polarizing topic, and it's nothing political. It is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the latest Quentin Tarantino flick, his 9th movie, as he likes to put on all of his movies now. I mean, I get that whole marketing thing with the Hateful Eight because it's this 8 movie and the symbolism there. I get that, but I just think it's kind of weird that I guess he's been doing that for a while, if I'm being honest. But I originally thought that was kind of silly, and again, that word's self-indulgent, and that is a lot of what I feel like with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I did not plan on seeing it last weekend. I thought it was going to be a thing where usually when movies come out, now that I don't have Movie Pass anymore, and mostly because I'm a very cheap gentleman, anybody that knows me knows how cheap I truly am. So I thought it was going to be one of the scenarios where I live, there's one theater that lives really close to me that it is like, I think, $6 on Tuesdays. And then there's another theater on Wednesdays. It's usually like $5.50 something. It's cheap prices that they have during the weekdays, and that's usually when I go to see movies now because I'm cheap. I don't have my Movie Pass anymore, as I've talked about several times on the show. I just don't have it anymore. And I was not anticipating seeing it on the weekend, but Ashley texted me and mentioned she wanted to see it, so maybe we could do it. We found a good price, good deal, and sure enough, we went to go see it. Now, I came in with some expectations. I'll be the first to admit I'm someone who thinks that Tarantino at this point in his career has very much smelled his own BS. And what I mean by that, and I'm not saying he's a bad filmmaker. I don't think his movies are bad at any stretch of the imagination. I've seen a lot worse movies, and you'll find out in the podcasts, other podcasts that I do, just how bad of movies I have to watch or do watch. So I'm not saying those movies are bad by any stretch, but I feel like after Inglourious Bastards, he really was feeling himself and really bought into his own hype. And that could be construed. Goodness gracious, I can't talk today. There are strong defenders of Inglourious Bastards, and I totally get it. But you also have to understand that I'm just not someone that enjoyed that movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's terrible. I just think, for the most part, I liked chunks of it. And that's the thing. Even when I don't like Tarantino movies, I don't completely hate the movie. I hate chunks of the movie, or I don't like certain choices he makes, but I don't hate the whole entire movie because he's not a bad filmmaker. That's not at all what I'm driving at here. What I'm driving at is he is very much bought into his own style, and he's very confident, I don't want to say, well, yeah, it's kind of say cocky, and there's nothing wrong with that. You got to be confident in your work. You got to be proud of your work, and I totally understand that. But Inglourious Bastards didn't just hit with me, and I felt like, and I was reading forever ago, there was a Cracked article about this, Cracked.com, where it said that that's when he felt like he was finally embracing just being self-indulgent, because Brad Pitt plainly looks right at the camera and says, I think this is my masterpiece. And I think that's an obvious fourth wall break from Quentin Tarantino to say, this is my masterpiece, this is my Oscar winner, and sure enough, he won. And that kind of just sent the trend going forward. Now, I thought, after I felt with Inglourious Bastards, I thought I just wouldn't like any more of his movies. That's not true at all. I thought Django was phenomenal. I love Django Unchained. I thought that was so awesome. And, it says a lot about me. Maybe it's because that was one of his more violent movies, and I love the Kill Bill movies too. I think maybe that says something with me, and I might need to get some help with how I enjoy my movies. But Django was great. And then we get to Hateful Eight, which I think was 2015, maybe 2016, which I did not see for a long time. And that's the one that leaked online, and he threw a big fit about it. And I understand that. I'm not saying that he was not justified in his anger that script would have leaked online, because it sucks that you put so much time and effort into your work, and then you have some guy just post it online for anybody to see for free when you were going to probably make that into a movie. Sure enough, he did. This is another thing. Hateful Eight, I feel like, would have been a much, much, much better movie if you cut out an hour of it. I remember watching it. It was after I'd had knee surgery on my torn meniscus a couple of years ago. So I'm kind of doped up on painkillers, and I'm watching this movie, and I'm into it. I don't hate anything. I think the performances across the board with any Tarantino movie, I think that he gets the best performances possible out of the people that he puts in his movies. I think that is unequivocally the truth. No matter any movie, he gets the best performances. So I was digging the performances, but again, I'm hopped up on painkillers. Goodness gracious, I cannot talk today. Painkillers. So I'm kind of out of it, and I fall asleep for a little bit. I fell asleep for about 15 minutes. I was watching it with my buddy Tommy, who has been on the show before and will be on the show again. One of my best friends in the whole world. I was watching it with him, and he loves that movie, which is great. And I fell asleep for about, I want to say, maybe 15 minutes, and I woke back up, and I literally asked him, did I miss anything? Anything important happened? He goes, no. No, not really. Not at all. Any other movie, if I fall asleep, say a Marvel movie, if I fell asleep for 15 minutes, I am missing a lot of stuff in that movie. because that's just how fast those movies work. Most movies, I feel like, if I fall asleep for 15 minutes, I'm missing some key plot points or something. And this is the very beginning of the movie. Most movies, if I fall asleep for 15 minutes, I'm kind of out of it. But I didn't really miss anything. And that said a lot. That kind of set the tone for me watching this movie. I think there's some things you could have absolutely cut out, and you could probably say that about any movie, but definitely with Hateful Eight, and I think parts of this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think there are some chunks you could probably cut out. That being said, I ended up actually liking this movie a lot more the more I talked about it with Ashley. The more I thought about this movie, the better the movie was. Because by the end of it, and by the way, I am probably going... Let's just, safe to say, and I'll warn you before it happens, I'm going to spoil the ending of this movie, which is just completely bonkers. But by the time the movie ends, I kind of just sat in my seat for a little bit in the theater and just thought, I really don't know how I feel about this movie. I just don't know. I can't put my finger on it. And usually that doesn't happen. And it's something special, maybe not just Tarantino movies, but just movies in general that can break the mold of the conventions we're used to. I love Marvel movies. I will see Marvel movies until they stop making them, which, based on Endgame's numbers, that's never going to happen. But usually by the time those movies are over, I know I like it. Unless, of course, it's something like Batman v Superman, which I don't even know what to think from that movie. But most of the time I go to a movie and I see a movie at this... The way we are with the modern movie-going experiences, I know what I like, I know what I expected, I enjoyed it. I really didn't know. And I was also definitely coming in with still a bitter taste in my mouth from Inglourious Basterds and Hateful Eight, just because I felt so much of that was self-indulgence, and I felt so much of that was just Tarantino kind of just wafting in his own BS, which again is earned. Before those movies, like before any of that stuff, even with Inglourious Bastard, which isn't a bad movie, just wasn't for me, it's totally earned. He has made great movies. He's made some of my favorite movies. I mean, look at the hits that he had to start his career. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, very criminally underrated. Jackie Brown. And, you know, the work he's done with Robert Rodriguez and the Grindhouse stuff. So I don't hate Tarantino's stuff. I just think the last few movies that he had made are incredibly self-indulgent. And there are definitely aspects of that in this movie. But I had those expectations of, like, I really don't know if I'm going to like this movie. I might just hate this movie. I might trash this movie. But I also was able to just temper my expectations and be like, I'm just going to go in and enjoy this movie for what it is. I'm going to come up with a clean slate. And if you do that, and look, I get it. People probably do not like Tarantino as a person. I know he doesn't do himself any favors in interviews. He has some questionable responses. And, of course, obviously I don't know him as a person, but people are probably going to go in with their own notions of who he is and his movies, and people are most likely going to hate it before even seeing it. They're going to come in with extremely low expectations or extremely high expectations, and you know, whatever it may be. But I came in with a clean slate, and I tried to just say, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy this movie for what it is. I'm going to have fun. It's something I usually don't get out on a Friday and go see a movie on a opening night Friday. I guess technically Thursdays are now, but I usually don't go out and see these movies. And again, leaving the theater thinking, I really don't know how I feel about it, but the more I talked about it, the better it got. And I think that is a really good example of just Tarantino being good at what he does. Because of this movie, I'm willing to go back and give Inglourious Basterds another shot. Hateful Eight, not so much. I don't know. Inglourious Basterds is 10 years old. I'm a totally different person than 25-year-old Jake is totally different than 15-year-old Jake. So it's going to be a different experience for me, and I'll probably end up liking it. So anyway, let's get into the gist of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think the best thing about this movie is the performances, and I've already said it, what I said about Tarantino's ability with performances. particularly Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. Those two guys are so fantastic together. Their chemistry together is unbelievable. The whole time you're watching this movie, you are rooting for those two characters. And you want to just see them on screen together. And you want to see them bounce off each other because you're seeing two actors that are at the top of their game. Especially Leonardo DiCaprio. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is the greatest actor of our generation. There is no comparison. He is just that damn good on every single level. And to see him work with Brad Pitt, who, in my view, can be hit or miss sometimes, depending on the movie. But again, he was great in Inglourious Bastards, the last time he worked with Tarantino. And he was so great in this movie. I think Brad Pitt stole the movie. His character is so damn cool throughout the whole movie, and he absolutely kills it, and he steals it. And those two really carry this movie, and it's no surprise that you could just strap a movie onto their backs and carry it forward. A lot of times when I think of Tarantino movies, I can think of the cast, but this movie is different because this movie is just, it's Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, a little bit of Margot Robbie, which she, I think, is a little underutilized. I think when she is used right, it's great, but I just don't think she's just used as much as she could be or should be, maybe. But the rest of the cast is pretty much just window dressing. They're just cameos. That's all they are. This movie is just like, hey, would you want to be in a Tarantino movie? Sure, absolutely. Okay, I'll put you in for this one spot. I mean, Luke Perry, for Pete's sakes, is in this movie, R.I.P. He's in this movie for a bit spot. You know, Timothy Olyphant is in this a little bit more than just a bit spot. I mean, he has lines and everything, but he was in this movie. And Kurt Russell, because of course he has to be in this movie. It's a Tarantino movie. I'm upset that Sam Jackson isn't in this movie. It's an injustice that Samuel L. Jackson is not in this movie, but it is what it is, I guess. But I think the big issue with this movie is it is 100% about those two, about Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, but it is multiple things. It is, and I actually mentioned this too when we were talking about it after we saw it, which again, our reactions were about the same, and then again, we both agreed that we like it more the more we talk about it. It's very much like Pulp Fiction, and in a sense that where Pulp Fiction really doesn't have a plot, and it's jumbled up. The timeline's all mixed up, and one character dies in this scene, but he's still alive in that scene. You know, all this stuff. Everybody's seen Pulp Fiction, and if you haven't at this point, how? That seems like it's virtually impossible. But this movie is very much Pulp Fiction, but with a through line. There's no jumping around. Yes, there's flashbacks, but there's never whole segments, whereas, you know, Pulp Fiction, where it was clearly broke up into chapters, this movie isn't. It's just a straight line. And I was listening to other podcasts talk about it, and they've said it I think it was a Kind of Funny screencast. They said that it was a slice of life movie, where this movie just took place in these characters' lives. I think that is absolutely the case. And people might be going in disappointed because it comes off as seems like this movie is going to be about the Manson family, and it's not. They play a role in the movie, of course, but it is not a movie about them. It is a movie about two guys who are best friends, who are together, that are at the twilights of their career, in a industry that is changing right before their eyes, because this is 1969, we're getting into the 70s, and there's the free love stuff, the hippie movement, all this stuff is happening in American history, and they're trying to find a way to adapt to it, where they think this might be the end of their career. And that is the core of the movie. And I remember coming out of the movie saying, if they would have just cut out the Manson stuff, if they would have, hell, even cut out the Sharon Tate stuff, I don't know, I would have liked that movie more. But as I was thinking more about it, that is exactly what the movie that I wanted is in there. 100%. I just didn't. I had to think about it, which is again a compliment to the movie that it can let me sit and think about it and simmer about it. That's all I could think about Friday night after I saw that movie. That's all I could think about was that movie. I was just trying to dissect it and be like, why did I think that I hate it? What made me not like this? Why did people think it's this? Why this, that, and the other thing? And that is a huge compliment to Tarantino as a filmmaker, because a lot of these other movies that I see in movie theaters, I don't have those kind of thoughts. They never cross my mind. I can't even think, what was the last movie? Spider-Man Far From Home. Love that movie. I talked about it on this show. But never once did I dissect it the way I did when I got home and was like, what made me dislike this? Why did I like this? What kind of mad scientist work is Tarantino doing to make me hate this movie or like this movie? And that's, to me, the biggest compliment I could give to this movie. I would recommend, but I will say it's not a movie that I necessarily need to see twice. And I only say that because of how long this movie is, and this is where I harp on it the most. This movie is almost 3 hours long. And like I said at the top, versus a Marvel movie or some other sort of superhero movie, I don't feel the length. And some people said that the pacing was great and they didn't feel the 3 hours. I disagree. I felt the almost 3 hours of this movie. And there's definitely times in this movie where I felt like, yes, Tarantino is full on playing up his own self-indulgence. That being said, yes, the movie is beautifully shot with these grand landscapes and the way it looks. It does look amazing. But there were times in this movie where I was questioning where it was going and I didn't know what the plot was. And I felt like, yes, okay, we get it, dude. You know, you loved Hollywood in this era. And it is a great, beautiful tribute to a bygone era of Hollywood. But also, I'm thinking, where are we going with this? What's going on? How can we move this along? Because there are definite parts where I was checking my phone like, we've still got like an hour left in this movie? Are you kidding? What are we supposed to be doing? And again, I think it was because I came in with the assumption that there was going to be more implementation of the Manson family and Charlie Manson and all that stuff, and there wasn't. And I don't have a problem with that at all. I think the movie is better without it, personally. But I think that, again, is just a problem with the marketing of it and the idea, just the way that people talk about it. Maybe not so much the marketing, because the marketing was great with the trailers where I kind of knew what was going to happen in the movie, but I didn't really know much else. And I think that works to its benefit, especially now, all the trailers. I guess I don't really want to go into the spoilers for the people that have seen it. I just kind of wanted to say that it surprised me. It kind of took me back and made me realize maybe I'm too in my own head about Quentin Tarantino, and I need to just appreciate his ability as a filmmaker, because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. That being said, it is very much a movie that I don't know if it'll be for everybody just because of how long it is. But if you just go in with the expectations of thinking you're going to see an amazing performance from two great actors in Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, you will not be upset. It is a great movie for those performances. The rest of the movie, I don't know. And honestly, the rating I gave it when I got out of the theater, in my head, if I had to rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, I think I said 3. Now that I think about it, I would probably put it more at a 3.5, maybe a 4. Because I do like it more the more I think about it. That being said, one final thing about it. I do not understand how at the, I think it was Cannes Film Festival, it got a 7-minute standing ovation. This movie is not that good. I'm sorry. This movie does not deserve a 7-minute standing ovation. It's a good movie, but it does not deserve that level of applause and love. Maybe it's because of the way that they treated the setting and the time period, or whatever the case may be. I just don't know how that got a 7-minute standing ovation. But anyway, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Comment below and let me know what you guys think about it. Did you like that movie? Have you seen it? Well, I think have you seen it would go if you liked it, right? Jeez Louise. Did you hate it? Do you think I'm right that he was too self-indulgent, or do you think I should have probably been I was too soft on the movie, or should I be hard on the movie? I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. Okay, moving on to the next part of the show. We are going to be talking about Sunday night. I was in Lincoln, Nebraska to see the greatest band in the world, Tenacious D. And I'm someone actually is... I did not realize until at this show how big of a Tenacious D fan I really was. There was a period in, I want to say, probably 8th or 9th grade when I was just listening to Tenacious D all the time. I even went back and watched the HBO show episodes, which are still hilarious to this day. I think I love Jack Black as an actor. I think Jack Black, I even subscribe to his YouTube channel. I think it's hilarious. I think Jack Black has the perfect life. If I were to be an actor, I would be Jack Black. That would be my mentality. Anyway, I've been listening. The Pick of Destiny is one of my favorite movies of all time. I know I'll probably get scrutinized for that, but I love that movie. So I pretty much know all the soundtrack of that, and I'd listen to that all the time. So I used to watch the HBO shows and all this stuff. So I had to think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a really big fan of Tenacious D. And that was one of my favorite shows I've ever been to. That was so much fun going to that show. I mean, just the production behind it. It really was a show. And I was kind of taken aback by it. Because, I mean, I knew it was going to be good because I know those guys are performers. They're actors. They're going to put on a show. They're going to perform. But, man, oh, man, it was like a legit fun as hell rock show. And I don't know why I didn't think anything less because I love their music, but holy cow, was that awesome. And the sets that they had behind them were great because they come out and they do some songs from Post-Apocalypto, and then they start playing their hits, their solid gold hits and their misfires. And the set behind them, it makes a castle, but the pillars for the castle are just two dicks, two penises, and the hole into the doorway into the castle is a vagina. And I was like, all right, this is the show we're getting into. We're getting into the dirty and raw Tenacious D. I was excited. Ashley went with me, and I think Ashley enjoyed herself watching me watch this show because I was so happy and so excited to see this show, and it was great. And I knew pretty much all their songs. Not all of them, but I knew pretty much all of them, and it was an amazing performance. I think probably the best part of the show, and don't get me wrong, the songs are great, the performances were great, but the best part of the show was early on, I think, when he brings out the saxophone. Now, if you have not seen the saxophone stuff or know what I'm talking about, look up Jack Black's saxophone. I think Jimmy Fallon. He takes out this toy, this saxophone toy, and plays it. And he does it for the live show, and he's like, hey, Kyle, you ready to dance? He's like, yeah. And he goes, saxophone, brings it out and does it. And it was just so much fun. And, you know, everybody's dancing and having a good time. And that was a moment for me when I was like, this is why I go to concerts. This is why I go to shows. Because this was just so damn fun. And it was so entertaining. And for that, like, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours that Tenacious D was on stage, I was just having the time of my life, man. It was just so much fun. And I wasn't on any drugs. I had like maybe 2 beers, 3 beers. I wasn't drunk. I was just enjoying the hell out of the show, man. It was awesome. It was great. But the saxophone sequence alone is free to buy a ticket. And I am disappointed because they did not play The History of the D or Master Exploder, and I'm a little bummed. But the fact that, okay, I remember there was a part in the show, they play Kielbasa, and this is how I realized, oh shit, I am a huge fan. When they're playing Kielbasa, which is from their first album, and they start playing the guitar, and Ashley kind of looks at me, and then she's like, because she doesn't know what the song is, she looks at me, and then I go, I love you, baby, but all I can think about is my kielbasa sausage, your butt cheeks is warm. And then she's like, what the hell? And then we're doing the whole song, and that was the moment I was like, I'm a much bigger fan than I remember. And then she kind of looked at me like, oh man, I'm spending the rest of my life with this guy. That's the kind of look I'm used to, but I don't care. I was enjoying myself. It was great. And then I remember after that song, I was like, oh man, they're playing deep cuts like Kielbasa. I hope they play Double Team. Sure enough, they played Double Team. And that was another moment when I knew all the lyrics and I'm jamming to it and enjoying it. And she's like, my God, man, you are just a super fan. But that's why we go to these shows, man. It was super fun, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. So Tenacious D, if they're coming to your town at any point and you still have a chance to get tickets, buy some tickets. You will have a great time. It's one of the best shows I've ever been to. It was awesome. It was fantastic. Go check it out. And lastly, the events of the weekend for me. My phone completely went kaput, just fried. So I'm currently looking at my Google Galaxy, good Lord, Google Pixel 3, because I had a Google Pixel 1. This is a phone that I had for almost 3 years. I came home after work, and I was getting ready to, before I left to do all the festivities that I was this weekend, I went to bed. I had about 50%, I'd say, roughly, percentage of my battery. Plugged it in, saw the lightning bolt go on there, so I know it was charging. So I went to bed, expecting nothing else. I wake up, go to turn on my phone, screen's black, doesn't turn on. I hold the button longer, nothing, doesn't come on. And I'm also like kind of awake, still my eyes are adjusting, I'm waking up and I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Of course this would happen now. Of course this would happen when I'm going to go see Tenacious D, so I don't get any pictures. I mean, obviously Ashley would take pictures, but I didn't get anything from it. Of course that would happen. So then I decide, okay, I'm going to just try this again. And then maybe it was the charger. And I was like, well, I could use my other charger. Where's my other charger? Oh, yeah, I left that at work. So I get on my laptop, I go on Facebook, I tell Ashley, okay, my phone's not working. I don't know what's wrong. This is not working. I'm troubleshooting it. I've done every possible troubleshoot I could. I even plugged my phone into my laptop to see if I could boot it up that way. Nothing happened. My computer didn't even recognize what it was. So I'm like, this is just wonderful. This is just great. So I go to work thinking maybe I can get my other charger. I take a shower, go to work, get my other charger. Does not work. Okay, so clearly my phone's not working. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. Honestly, it didn't bother me that much because I knew I was going to be going on like a 3-day weekend. I was going to be going to see my mom and hang out with my family, and then I was going to go to Tenacious D, and I had the Monday off, so I knew that I would be coming home, and I could deal with all that later. With Ashley all weekend, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can contact her, and we can go from there. Wasn't a huge problem, and quite honestly, it was kind of nice being off the grid that long. I recommend trying it. When you're going to do something on the weekend, and you're going to be with people that you normally would talk to, turn your phone off, and just have conversations and just hang out with people. I think that was a nice experience for me. But Monday comes around, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to use my phone because I'm going to be going back to work. I'm going to be doing all these other things. I'm going to need my phone. So we take the phone in, the Google Pixel 1, because, as you know, I'm a cheap bastard. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I don't have to spend more money. Take it in. We do everything we can. Doesn't work. So I'm like, all right. I was already ready for an upgrade. So I was like, might as well just get the phone now. I'll deal with the fact that I got to pay like $20 extra a month just to have a new freaking phone. So we go in, we go to Verizon, doesn't work, all that stuff, yeah. So all right, let's upgrade. I'll just get the Pixel 3. Do you have those there? Yeah, we have one. Okay, great. So they go in, get the Pixel. So she's like, all right, I'll be back with the receipt. Now, in my head, I'm thinking it'll probably be like $60 because it'll be like the $20 to just, start the payments for the phone, and then like, I don't know, like $40-something for an activation fee and all that stupid needless bullcrap they charge you for when you buy a phone. It was $100. So I was like, oh, that's fantastic. That's just great. Let's add that to the thing. $100 just to walk out of the store with a phone. $100. And that was because of tax. Taxation is theft. You don't believe me? Look at your phone. Taxation is theft. Fine, whatever. I'll take it. So I take it, the money, whatever. I buy it. I leave the store. Now, this should never happen. And if this does happen, make it happen to you. They did not activate my phone for me, which I didn't even think about because I was just so furious at the price. And I just want to just get this whole phone ordeal over with. But they didn't activate the phone for me. So I get in the car, turn on the phone, doesn't activate yet. And I'm thinking, oh, I need Wi-Fi to do this. And Ashley was like, we can go back in the store. We had a schedule to adhere to. And I'm like, I'll do this later. We'll figure it out. She goes, okay, fine. We go and do the other thing we need to do, run the errand that we needed to do. So then we had Wi-Fi. I try activating the phone. That didn't work. I got everything synced up. I got all my backup, all my contacts, all that stuff's ready to go. Fine. That'll work. It's not activating. Fine. Okay. We still got to drive a couple hours to get home. I'll just deal with that when I get home. So then we get home. I try to activate it again. Does not work. And now I'm getting really frustrated. Because why is this phone not working? I just paid $100 friggin' to use this phone. Why is it not working? So then Ashley's like, well, what do you want to do? We can go to Verizon. We can try doing it tomorrow. I'm like, screw it. Let's just go to Verizon. We go to Verizon. Sadly, I thought I had an hour or so before the stores closed. It closes in 5 minutes. I feel like a dirtbag because I hated people that used to do that when I worked retail, and I don't ever want to be that guy. Do not be that guy. If you are that guy, reconsider your life choices. So I walk in, there's a nice lady. She was great. She helped us. She was very nice. I walk in. I'm trying everything I can. I can't get this phone to activate. She goes, they were supposed to activate at the store. Did they activate at the store? No, they didn't. Was it a corporate store or was it a franchise? I have no idea. Well, a regular store, I think she said a franchise is the one that's supposed to activate it for you. A corporate store will just say, hey, here you go. You're on your way. I was like, that's what they told me. They didn't activate anything. Okay, great. So then we go to activate the phone. And we try to activate the phone. We can't do it because we need the PIN to activate the phone. And I don't know, or it was something like the last 4 digits of a PIN that I don't know because I'm not the account owner. So we had to call her mom. Her mom was Ashley's mom. We had to call Ashley's mom. She's at work. That just keeps adding to this. I'm about to just give up. I said, because again, I didn't want to keep this lady longer than I needed to, and I felt horrible about that. I was like, I'm just going to go home and figure this out tomorrow. That was kind of my MO, but she's like, no, I'll try and figure it out. So I'm like, oh God, here we go. And then it just seemed like it was like there was some sort of existential force that did not want me to have a new phone. It just did not want me to be able to contact people. It just wasn't happening. So eventually we just said, you know what, we're going to reset the PIN. We reset the PIN, got everything fixed. And then finally we did that, and then my phone was blowing up, and people finally texted me back. So that was my weekend, folks. Man, I'm telling you, this is the thing that I hate the most. And looking at the price, the fact that it was $100 just to turn the stupid phone on, then you have to think about, then they're going to try and sell me on a phone case and a wireless charger and all this other crap and all these other things, needless things that I don't need for my phone, but they insist I need. I'm like, no, just give me the freaking phone. I just want to go home, all this stuff. And I hate dealing with phones, man. I really do. I think they're great tools, and don't get me wrong, this Pixel 3 works like a dream. It's an amazing phone, but I just hate all the needless nickel and diming and BS that you have to deal with just to have these stupid freaking phones. And then the fact that you have these nice phones, which are beautiful looking phones, and then, but they're hard plastic. So you have to put a cover on it. Which, if you want the really good covers that really won't hurt your phone, that's $40. Which don't buy in that BS. The last cover I had for my Pixel 1. That's another thing, too. They got to keep changing the size of these friggin' phones so you can't keep the same cover. You got to buy a new one. But the last one I had was, I think, a Spy-Gen, like soft rubber cover, and it worked like a dream. It was like $12. So don't buy into this OtterBox BS. All right? There's cheaper, reliable covers out there. So that was my weekend. That is why my episode did not get out on time. I had a lot to deal with. A lot of fun and a minor annoyance that happened with my phone. And I know that me complaining about it is an extreme first world problem. I understand that. It's very humorous. Take it with a grain of salt. My life isn't ending because my phone, there was a hassle to get my phone turned on. It's just needless BS, the story of my life. Story of this podcast, really. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow Loud Opinionated on Twitter at Loud Opinionated. Like us on Facebook at Loud and Opinionated. Check it out, man. You notice something? Yeah, we got a couple new shows. Backcast, the show I do with Luke, the 402 Films original, that is officially a part of the Loud and Opinionated family. We're very excited about it. I'm happy to bring them aboard. So you can listen to my show, the Jake Williams Show. You can listen to Loud Sports. You can listen to Backcast. And there's another one I'm not going to tell you because you got to like us on Facebook to figure out what the other podcast could be. And I'm going to be recording that very soon. And I'm very excited about it. So thank you so much once again for listening. And even if you work at Verizon and you're terrible people, I'm kidding. People that work at Verizon are not terrible people. I think if you are these phone companies that jip us all the time, even if you're them, be loud and be proud.